Rover came to be when Daniel introduced the guitar riff, and it was probably just he and I meeting at the rehearsal space at that point before Sam even came up from Georgia. So I was playing bass, and I think I just wrote the droney do-do-do-do-do kind of thing against his guitar part, and I think that inspired the vocal pretty quickly in terms of the top line. And I was just describing to somebody, I feel like the lyric to that song may have actually just been inspired by the sound of the song, as opposed to kind of that I had wanted to write a song about a cult figure. I think something in his riff with that sort of droney bass part was evoking like the California West, or Arizona, Nevada. And I just envisioned this sort of dusty landscape and this cult leader figure. Well, I mean, the idea of that song lyrically is that it's this character, the Rover, who is basically preaching a doomsday type message, but he's just a very sort of charismatic and magnetic figure. And I kind of once that was settled in as the concept, once I envisioned okay, this is this character that I want to describe, then it just sort of became fun, kind of wavering back and forth between his doomsday prophesizing and his sort of manipulative word choice and how he's basically trying to get people to follow him. But I find that's a really fascinating dynamic. The fact that there are people, 1 in a billion or whatever, that want to assume that role, and then the fact that people can react to the cult of personality like that and sort of just follow someone who's sort of unhinged. And I think especially that idea of the sort of cult of personality and sort of people, buying a line of BS or get people rallied up. I guess that happens small scale in sort of cults, and maybe because it's smaller scale it can be even more idiosyncratic and strange, but it also obviously happens, as history will show, with great numbers of people. The video for the Rover is a very ambitious project. The story to the video became when we decided that we were going to shoot it in Mexico City, where we did the press conference, and that it was actually going to be this sort of meta art happening during the press conference. The idea of the video is that the character of the Rover is sort of with the band as we get down to Mexico City. He's sort of just a hipster bro. I guess in the video we wind up setting it up that he's sort of a live musician with us, but we have a falling out, and he gets kicked out of our van, and he gets rescued by this group of kids, and then they take him to a shaman, and he has his own spiritual awakening. So he's already a kid that's sort of unhinged, but the general idea, the broad idea, is that it's the prequel to the birth of the character that would then be showcased in the song. So this is what happens before the guy becomes a cult leader and is sung about in the Rover. So it's the birth of the Rover is what the video became. It's the storyline of how he came to be.